This is a true story, and it is the absolute definition of the phrase, finding out. Out in the black ink of the Gulf of Aden, where the law is written by the man with the bigger gun, two skiffs full of Somali pirates were on the hunt. The night was moonless. The only sounds were the scream of their outboard motors and the slap of the waves against their hulls. They were armed, they were high on adrenaline, and they were closing in on the jackpot of a lifetime. Their target was a ghost ship on the horizon, a massive, silent shadow moving slowly through the shipping lanes. No flag, no lights, just a mountain of dark steel. In the pirates' playbook, a ship that big and that quiet means only one thing: an unescorted supertanker or cargo freighter, a slow, heavy, helpless prize, worth millions in ransom. They gripped their AK-47s and readied their RPGs. Their confidence was absolute. Their greed was blinding. And that's why they never saw it coming. That shadow wasn't a cargo ship. It was a 100,000-ton floating fortress, a sovereign piece of American territory, powered by 2 nuclear reactors, crewed by 5,000 sailors, and carrying enough firepower to wage a war by itself. They weren't just targeting a U.S. Navy ship. They were about to try and hijack the aircraft carrier USS Dwight D. Eisenhower. Inside the carrier's Combat Information Center, deep within the armored heart of the vessel, the mood was the exact opposite of the pirates' chaotic hunt. There was no adrenaline, only the calm hum of climate control and the cool blue light of radar screens. To the pirates, this was the ultimate score. To the sailors on watch, it was just another Tuesday night. An operator, not even looking up from his console, called it out in a flat, professional tone. Contacts, 2 small craft bearing 0-8-5, closing fast. The officer on the deck didn't need to raise an alarm. He didn't need to wake the captain. The carrier's defenses were already awake. He leaned into the comms, his voice steady. Bridge, CIC. Notify the flight deck. Launch the Seahawk. Now. For the pirates, the world ended in the next 90 seconds. First came the sound. It wasn't the whine of an engine, it was a violent, physical thump, thump, thump that seemed to come from the sky itself. A presence. Out of the darkness, an MH-60R Seahawk helicopter materialized, instantly pinning them in a sun-hot spotlight so bright it felt like it could peel paint. The pirate with the RPG on his shoulder looked up, and he froze. Through the glare, he could clearly see the Seahawk's door gunner calmly swiveling an M240 machine gun to point directly at his chest. Before they could even think to turn and run, 2 new predators erupted from the waves. They weren't coming from the carrier, they were coming from its escort, the guided missile destroyer USS Gravely, a ship the pirates hadn't even seen. 2 11-meter RPGs, rigid-hull inflatable boats, were on them in seconds, screaming across the water at 40 knots, packed with heavily armed Navy VBSS teams. These weren't diplomats. They were floating SWAT teams, and this was a textbook takedown. A single deafening burst of machine gun fire ripped across the skiff's bow from the Seahawk above. It wasn't an attack. It was a final, non-negotiable warning. A shockwave of sound that hit them like a fist. The RPGs boxed them in. Loudspeakers roared in perfect, terrifying unison. Lay down your weapons! Hands up! Do it now! Confusion. Panic. One pirate fumbled his AK-47, dropping it into the sea. Another just stared, his eyes wide with a horror that was just beginning to dawn. It was over in less than 30 seconds. They were face down, zip-tied, and being hauled aboard the RHIBs by rough, efficient hands. And only then, as they were being secured, did the pirates finally understand the scale of their mistake. The USS Eisenhower never stopped. It never slowed down. It never even changed course. In fact, as they watched in disbelief, a pillar of steam and fire erupted from the carrier's deck. A roar that shook the sea itself echoed across the water as a 20-ton FA-18 Super Hornet was hurled into the sky by the catapult, screaming into the night on a completely different mission. Its crew was probably wondering what they were having for breakfast, completely unaware that a hijacking had even been attempted. And the second pirate skiff, the one that split off and tried to run, it was hunted down by a different VBSS team, launched from a different destroyer, the USS Mason. They hadn't just picked the wrong ship. They had stumbled into the kill zone of an entire carrier strike group. They had tried to mug a floating city, and that city's heavily armed suburbs had handled the problem for them, without even bothering the mayor. It wasn't a standoff. It wasn't even a fight. It was a lesson, written in precision, speed, and overwhelming force. A lesson that started with a warning and ended with the crushing realization that in the deep, dark waters of the world, there are things far more terrifying than pirates.